And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Darian Talks UTSA. Packed day, jam-packed day. It's been a crazy week. Um, and yeah, we're gonna have a guest come on. It's gonna be Miles. He covers UNT. He's a pretty prominent person on Twitter covering the UNT Mean Green, obviously some of our conference rivals. He will be on in about 30 minutes. So he's going to come on and do the second half of the show. We're going to talk a lot of UNT stuff. I think it is good to bring in guys or gals from other schools within the conference to see, how their offseason going. Are they having some of the similar issues UTSA are and those things, and to kind of get us all ready for the season and trying to understand what teams around us are doing, what they're going to, and what they expect with them as well. We're going to jump into that. We're also going to jump into some of the discussions that we've all been having on Twitter. Shout out to all you guys on Twitter. It's been a crazy week from an engagement standpoint. A lot of you guys have been getting your voices heard. I've had quite a few discussions with the UTSA Playfly guys who have some really good intentions on what they plan on doing from a UTSA marketing standpoint, things like that. I'm going to share some details or what I can or what I feel is appropriate to share on some of those. So make sure you guys get your questions in. Once Miles comes on, we're going to do questions also, but I'd say any questions you have for me, get those in ASAP. Because in about 30 minutes, he'll be here and then we'll go from there. But the first topic I want to jump into is the article that I put out on Monday. So I think I told you guys last week or on the show and maybe on Twitter, but I told you guys last week that one of the things I wanted to bring back is my writing skills, and AI helps me optimize a lot of that and make that process a lot easier for me to go through. So I put out an article about something that I think has been pretty quite significant in terms of the discourse and where UTSA is going. And I think it's the marketing situation, right? I think every single week you hear something about UTSA marketing, what they could have done better, what they aren't doing. And we've seen that this past weekend whenever, everyone was watching the Final Four, and I'm not going to get into the situation that happened because I'm sure the guy who made that tweet probably just wasn't a good time for them dealing with some of the backlash they had. But there was, a picture shown and some things about that, and basically, calling out UTSA marketing, so on and so forth. And it started to make me ponder and think so can UTSA do better from a marketing standpoint? Probably so. Like, there's some low hanging fruit that even I can acknowledge that, we're just not doing. And I've called these things out on this here very channel, and you guys have done a good job in sharing your comments and thoughts on those as well. But it also made me ponder, though, too, where it's like, what is are UTSA fans and us as supporters, are we holding the bar too high? Is it like an unreachable bar? You know what I mean? So I want to, investigate, see what the issues are, and try to find what the answer to that is. But I think one big part too is, I think for a long time, people say things on Twitter, and I think that, I don't know this for a fact, but it may seem, based on things that I've heard, that people feel like their voices aren't heard and that UTSA is not really taking them serious or not listening or just calling them internet trolls. I can tell you I have probably talked to someone from UTSA in some capacity, probably almost every single day over the last, I don't know, week or two. So they are listening. They've given some updates. Some of them I can't share, but some I think in general I can sort of speak about. But there was plenty of reaction to that UTSA marketing article that I had. And I just think that at the end of the day, I think transparency is a big deal. It's one of the things that I talked to the NIL GM Jordan Pelt about last week. Is like people want to know. And you guys can tell me if I'm off or not, right? Like, let me know in the comments what you think. But I sort of told them that like people want transparency, and people feel like we don't feel like we get that, right? And then we see a lot of the times what other folks are doing within the conference. We see a lot of the times what other folks are doing across the country. And there's always a question of why is UTSA lagging behind? I ask that question all the time. I've talked about our AD in this situation and some of my displeasures with our adoption to even like I said before, she just got around not too long ago acknowledging NIL. So I don't think it's been a secret that we have been a lagger. We've lagged behind in some of those things for quite some time, to be completely honest. So to me, it's one of those situations where something's got to happen, bro. Some's got to go on. But they are listening, and there'll just be more to come. I just tell people to continue to give your feedback. Continue to give your feedback, and then we can go from there. Another piece before I get into some of the questions also is spring ball. I'll be honest with you, it's silent around the spring ball piece. It's like I'm not getting a ton from the guys who are on the sidelines covering spring ball as well. Like I'm wondering if are they being asked to not say anything? I mean, let me know in the comments what you guys think. But are they not? I don't know. It just seems super silent. Like we get a video here, we get a video there, we get a couple photos, but no real reporting about like how people are doing, how things are coming along, so on and so forth. So who is this guy? I see this guy on my thing. I forgot. It must be a North Texas guy. You don't have to be here, my boy. Peter Wells, you don't have to be here. If this isn't a North Texas show, if you don't like it, you can bounce. Anyway, in fact, how about this? We'll do that. Yeah, he's weird. Anyway, so sorry about that. Yeah, the spring ball silence is weird to me. I'm trying to figure out like I'm trying not to be negative around it, but like, yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why it's so quiet. And people talk about like, oh, they're doing some of this. They're intentionally being quiet. They're intentionally like trying to hide things. I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't understand some of it. This is too quiet, right? Anyway, let's see what we got in some of the comments. Will UTSA host any fan events before the season starts? Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that so I know they're hosting I seen them host or present the, what do you call it? UTSA Athletics. I'm gonna check out the Twitter real quick to see if they've posted something new since I've seen it. But I know they announced the ladies in heels, runners in heels thing. I don't know if that qualifies as them hosting a fan event. I think it is. But they have that going on. But in terms of like a fan event to interact with the team in replace of us not having a spring game, I'm not seeing that is on the docket yet. I also did not get any indication from some of the folks that I talked to this past week that was in the plans. Not a fan event. Obviously, there's the UTSA football alumni event, that they're inviting some of the former athletes down actually this weekend to watch the guys scrimmage and sort of have a alumni barbecue. I'm good at that. I won't be there, but I'm going to visit family in Tyler this weekend. But I'm going to try to make it down to the scrimmage, and it's on the 26th. I've reached out to see if I can go there. I won't be able to cover it. I think I told some of you guys about that before, but I haven't heard anything. Scotty says, I can tell they have put a lot more effort in this year. We're making progress, in my opinion. Yeah, I definitely think the effort the effort is there. I am seeing people. Try a lot more. I think I've heard from these people more in the last couple of weeks than I've heard from them in the years that I've been covering UTSA. So yeah, I think you got some guys who are proactive. I think some of their ideas are a lot more. At least they sound good, right? It's all lip service until it happens. So like, just because I'm having conversations with them and we're talking, doesn't mean I'm going to eat anything up until I can actually see leather hit the road, right? So they have been a lot more proactive in terms of reaching out, getting things started, getting things going. But as of right now, it's still a wait and see game, right? One of the things that was mentioned on my discussion with the NIL folks, or the NIL GM, was they just have a process that they have to go through before they can put things into the public atmosphere, right? So, for example, without getting too specific, for example, if they have an event that they want to do, Chosen One earlier said, like, yo, are they hosting a fan event, or what type of events are they going to have leading up into the season and possibly in the season? They can't say anything public or hint toward anything public unless they get approvals from the folks, right? Like, they can't hint into anything, because it makes sense, right? It's a team, it's a program, it's a university or whatever. They can't just say, hey, we're thinking about doing this event, but we still gotta get the logistics figured out. No, they can only say this event is happening once all the logistics are done, once all the approvals are gotten, once it's been vetted by all the respective people in the administrative offices, and probably their legal and marketing departments and things like that, and probably even the coach. So like, you got to get all these commitments first before you can go out and say, hey guys, we're thinking about doing XYZ. So I think what I have gotten from like some of their energy is there are things in the works. They just can't say anything yet. That's the tricky part. So yeah, they certainly are making some progress, but we'll see. And for those of you guys who come in late, we are going to have Miles. He's at the UNT 6. He's coming up in probably about the next 15 minutes. He'll be joining the Talk UNT. So we probably have some new UNT folks coming in. I already had to block and ban a guy because he came in here talking shites, and I'm not here for that. Yeah, like, you're not gonna come into my show and troll. It's just not happening. We don't do that. Not that. I'm all for opinion and difference in an opinion, but you're not gonna come in here and troll. Let's see. Kermit says you're gonna make it out to the alumni barbecue and scrimmage this weekend. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be able to, unfortunately. Yeah, the timing, the tricky part with these things are the timing, bro. It's like, when they actually tell us this is gonna happen, giving us like, and this is just me being annoying, but like, gosh, bro, if you could have gave me a little, like, more than a week and a half notice, I probably would have been able to make something shake. But I planned this trip to visit my family, over a month ago, and I'm not going to forego that to go up to the barbecue. Elijah says, cook him. Yeah, I got him out of here, bro. We don't do that. 15 minutes though. 15 minutes until for the folks who are here for UNT stuff. You got 15 minutes until Miles is going to be on. He's coming on to do the second half of the show, so you can bear with me until then. ATX says, one thing I noticed in the spring scrimmage video on X is that they were actually tackling instead of two-hand touch. Think Traylor wants to eliminate that issue early. No, I just think it's the type of I think it's the type of practices that they're going to just elect to show. So I think part of the reason you're probably saying that is because I think he's back. Nah. Yeah, no. That ain't happening. But yeah, I think part of the reason that you're talking about the two-hand touch is because whenever they go and do a spring game, the spring game is all about what do you call it? The spring game is all about a showcase, and they don't want people to get hurt, right? So they're not going to go out in the spring game. They're first off, they're not going to run all their good stuff, right? They're going to run a very vanilla playbook. Defenses are typically going to be in base coverages. You're going to stay in the base defense. The offense is going to run very simple concepts. You're not going to get any complex concepts. They're not going to show very many formations, so on and so forth. And as a result of that, they don't want guys going out there competing and trying to hurt themselves. It's literally a showcase for the fans. Whenever we're actually in a spring scrimmage, it's live action, baby. It's live action. So when it's closed doors, no cameras, no media, only the internal like content team, that's a full-fledged game type atmosphere with referees tackling to the ground. The only thing you can't do is touch the quarterbacks. That's exactly what those situations are. So what you're seeing is a and then I think about it, I haven't even really thought about this, but like we didn't have a content team, right? At the time. We didn't have a content team at the time whenever like I was there, right? Or even I don't know if we had a content team that was sharing this type of content even during Frank Wilson's tenure at UTSA. But I guess I didn't realize during the spring, folks don't see footage of the actual scrimmages that they have behind closed doors. I never really put that together, to be completely honest. So, yeah, I think that's something that I hadn't necessarily clocked, but yeah, that's why you're seeing people tackle. It has nothing to do with like, oh, he's making them tackle because we were bad tacklers last year. No, that's just a regular scrimmage. That's typically none of that footage is exposed to the public. Mike says, I wish we had a better partnership with the city. It seems support from the city of San Antonio is minimal. Yes, one of the things that I noticed in my article, or from the responses of my article, that I didn't clock necessarily, right? Like so I don't. I mean, y'all know I don't live in San Antonio anymore, but I also didn't grow up in San Antonio. So like, my family's not there and all of that type of stuff. So I hadn't had some of the context in terms of, how much the city is backing UTSA, how deep rooted is that relationship, and how close that relationship is. I just hadn't had a lot of that historical knowledge, so it was a learning opportunity for me to see how folks reacted, how people talked about poverty in San Antonio, and how that plays a role in some of the city's struggles with getting behind UTSA. I think some of the challenges I think about UTSA's footprint and some of the demographics and areas that they don't target as much with what it's something I clearly think UTSA needs to address from a marketing standpoint. So, yeah, I wish. Here's the thing: I don't know a better way, or I mean, it's not my job to figure out, but like they have to find some sort of a way to they have to find some kind of way to sort of bridge that gap, because if not, it's a problem. Let's see. The Tulane QB transfer Finley has been suspended from the program. Not trying to make light of the situation, but I have to imagine that tips the scale in UTSA's favor for the eventual matchup. I mean, it certainly can, but here's what I'll say. From my understanding, Finley was not the guaranteed starter. I think people projected that he was starter, but apparently there was an actual QB battle, from my understanding. Like, it was actually going to be a battle, and I think this just clears it up. I'm not exactly sure what has come up, like what has happened in that situation yet. I think that's tricky, but is he like? I know they suspended him initially. Has there been any other developments outside of that? I'll be curious to hear that. But in terms of the matchup, it's just too early to know, right? I think it's a hard thing to predict in the offseason, like, oh, who we're going to beat, in week 5 of the next game. I think Tulane, they have a good program. They have a really good coach. They're probably going to, whoever they have at that's starting at their quarterback position, they're probably going to coach them up and put them in a position to be successful. I don't doubt that they will be fine at the quarterback position. So until we get some context on, like, I mean, we got to get context on what we'll look like too, right? Let's hope that we don't get off to a bad start this particular season, because we've seen, once our offensive confidence drops, it can fall off a cliff. It can fall off a cliff. We've seen that quite a bit last season. So yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves on like looking at this. One of the things I'm going to ask Miles when he comes on is, North Texas also is going to be ushering in a new QB this year. Like, what is that going to look like for them? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, what some of these situations come out to be. But yeah, we know how it is with new quarterbacks. Like for example, let's say they come in with a quarterback that's not, well, they have to obviously come in with a quarterback that's not TJ Finley, and maybe it's not someone that's on our radar right now. I just think about the same thing with McCown. I look at the contrast between like that situation and what we were up against in 2024, right? McCown and Eddie Lee Marburger were sort of in a quarterback battle going into the beginning of the year. McCown, in my opinion, was not good at all in the first half of the season. Eddie Lee was worse, and I had no confidence in any of them, to be completely honest. And all of a sudden, halfway through the season, McCown puts together a good game and then another good game, and then you start to look at it, and by the end of the season, he's like looked at as, hey, he had one of the better seasons out of any quarterback in our conference. You know what I'm saying? So like, it just it can be tricky. But I'm not. It's Tulane. Trust me, they're going to be prepared. They're going to be ready. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves at all, man. ATX says UNT fans are mental. Yeah, I don't like to do the fan like bashing stuff online and stuff like that. So when people come in and do it on my show, I'm like, bro, come on, man. This isn't that type of party. I don't engage in that type of thing. That's why I have no tolerance for it. Like, no tolerance for it at all. But yeah. Mike says, I wonder if Miles can provide some insight on UNT and if their fans feel frustrated at times like we do as it relates to market. I will certainly ask him that. I have that on my docket of questions for him. I'm very curious, and I'm going to ask him when he gets here, but I'm very curious to understand from their perspective, what's their NIL situation like, and do they feel like marketing efforts are good enough? So we'll see when he gets here. He should be here in about 5 minutes to talk some UNT. The cool guy. I think this is Slim. Preseason record prediction. That's hard, bro. That's hard. Honestly, if I take a quick glance at the schedule, this is a super early question. If I had to like put a number on it, if I had to just look, if I'm looking at the schedule right now and I'm going through it, I'm gonna say I'm gonna just go through the wins that I'll chalk down. All right, I'm gonna say Texas State. I'm still Texas State's a dub. UIW's a dub. Colorado State's tricky, so I'm gonna save them for now. I'm gonna say Temple's a dub. That's 3. Oh, Rice is tricky too because they tripped us up. Oh, Rice. I'm gonna say Rice is a dub. On McCown at this point should be flowing, so I'm gonna say Rice is a dub. North Texas is tricky. Tulane is going to be tricky. South Florida is going to be tricky. Charlotte's a dub. That's 5. East Carolina tricky. Army. I'm almost, that's even more tricky. Y'all know how scared I am of Army and what they do to us every time we play them. So those are 5, like just looking at the schedule super early, those are 5 wins those are 5 teams I feel pretty good about us going in and getting a victory against. So that leaves us with 7 games that's up in the air. Or like, for example, we're probably not going to beat Texas A&M. So that's a loss. And then the others are toss-ups, bro. It's gonna depend on a lot of things. Like, I mean, yes, I'd favor us against North Texas. I'd favor us against Rice, but like those are not going to be easy games. I mean, look at us. I mean, look at some of the performances we had against. I mean, Rice beat us in a heartbreaker last year. We handled North Texas pretty well. But like they're always tricky because they're going to score points. It's just going to be, but they got that new defensive coordinator, so like they're going to be a tricky situation. I'd favor us there, but like I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can say I can favor us against Rice. I can't say that about Tulane or South Florida. ECU, we beat ECU last season pretty handily. I felt good about that one, so maybe that's a win. I mean, I think we'll be anywhere between. I think we'll get. I think we could be 7 to 9 wins next season. If I had to like, yeah, if I had to like put a number on it, I think we could. I think 9 is probably the ceiling, I would say, but I think our floor is probably 6. I can't. I mean, we could go 10, but 10 seems very tough. 10 seems like a tall order, but 9 seems about right. Let's see. Miles should be here probably in a couple of minutes, so let me try to roll through the rest of these questions. TJ Finley has been suspended indefinitely from Browntown. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, I think Miles just joined. Let me get some of this logistical stuff going. Let's see. Let me see if I can add him to stage. Miles, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello,
Perfect.
sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Welcome to the show, man.
I appreciate you having me on. This is another podcast I've been joining. My people with the North Texas Eagle have been like, "You're doing too many podcasts. You can't keep doing all that. It saves some for us." So I'm glad to come on here. I haven't been on UTSA podcast in a little bit.
Yeah, man. Do your thing. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do a lot more of this. I did a little bit of it last year. But I'm gonna try to do a lot more of like having people on, but actually going on shows. So yeah, it'd be great. So yeah, you're the first person I've actually had on my show that is from an opposing school.
Okay.
So yeah, this is kind of new, but yeah, we're gonna rock and roll. So typically, the way my shows are, they're basically live Q&As. But with you coming on, I just have some questions about UNT because I want an update. Like, I follow you on Twitter. I see some of the things that goes on around UNT, and there's a lot of folks. By the way, you're represented well. I already had to ban someone for coming in here trolling. So, folks are ready for you to get on here. But my initial question is like, one of the things I wanted to know from your perspective is, who are the big names from last season that have left, either transferred or graduated? And then like, who are the big incoming recruits that are supposed to take those spots and should be difference makers in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't lose as much this year in the portal as you were expecting. I mean, I personally expected a few more guys that still haven't entered, and I don't think they will. Guys like Chandler Morris, quarterback, DT Sheffield, receiver. Trying to think of, I mean, we had our center, Jet Duncan, who's been here for a very long time. He graduated. Damon Ward, our receiver, graduated. On the defensive side of the ball, you lost Rod Brown, who was up front. You lost Ridge Tejada, who, I thought he got pushed off in the end zone a few years ago, but, against UTSA, but, he's gone. And let's see, let me think. We lost Jaden Hill, safety, Jordan Brown, Jalen Smith. I mean, you lost some big playmakers, guys that have been here for a long time. It was like the group that had been here since their freshman year. Which doesn't happen very often. You don't usually see these guys stay that long. But, you brought in guys like Reese Poffenberger from Miami. He was back up with Cam Ward last year. I mean, that's pretty significant. He played great at Albany the years he was there before. You bring in Jaden Beck's running back. You bring in Cameron Dorner. He's this D2 receiver, but he's looked really good. And of course, you can't forget about the Sam Houston State guys. I mean, we took about, I think, 7 or 8 total. Receiver Simeon Evans, he looks solid. He was their top receiver. On defense, I mean, Sam Houston defense looks just like the North Texas defense now. So it's pretty similar. Richard Outland, I talked to him today, and Trey Fields is probably going to be the guy that I tell people to keep an eye on. He's that linebacker, the guy that's going to really command the field, probably wearing the microphone, whatever they wear in the helmet. And then Armstead and David Fisher, and just a lot of guys. They brought in a lot of guys that had a lot of experience at other schools, not just you're at a bigger school, you're at another school, and you're coming to North Texas. They actually had experience playing there. So and that's what Coach Morris talked about, how he felt like he needed to go after guys that have had higher snap counts and things like, bring in more experience and have the ability to, step up day one, not to rely on freshmen like this team has the past few years. I mean, there's been guys that freshman year, they're starting. I mean, they haven't played a single snap of college football and they're starting week 1. Yeah. That's always scary, especially when you're going up against a little bit better competition here in the American. So, I think they did a lot better job at the portal going after their actual needs, not just getting guys with, big school names under them.
All right. So one name to watch for UTSA folks, one name to watch on either side of the ball from some of the guys you named. If you just had to give me one guy, who are going to be the standouts, one on offense, one on defense?
I mean, I would say quarterback, you're going to have to watch out for Reese Poffenberger. I mean, North Texas has done a great job with quarterbacks. Can't deny it. So I think he's the offensive guy. He's a leader on that side. And I think on the defensive side, it's going to be Trey Fields. I mean, he's the linebacker from Sam Houston. He's legit. Everybody said he's like the guy that we've talked to so far throughout spring. And so it seems pretty, he seems pretty efficient. He seems like this is going to be a more experienced defense. So I think Trey Fields, maybe even David Fisher, he's a cornerback, and a pretty good secondary room. I mean, that secondary room has really been really young and inexperienced in the past. And now you brought in guys that are actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I know North Texas has had some struggles on defense, but there's a lot of hype around the new DC you guys got. And I'm seeing his name everywhere and like what he's expected to do. Obviously, the recruits and the Sam Houston influence, things like that. Are you as excited as everyone that I'm seeing online about what's to come of the North Texas defense next season?
Yeah, I mean, the past several years, I get people hyped and they end up letting them down. And, this year I think it's really different. I mean, Skylar Cassidy is a defense coordinator. He's 30 years old. I mean, Austin Ani is the same age as him, and he was just playing college football 2 years ago. Yeah. So I think it's going to be legit. I don't know how great it's actually going to be. Time will tell. I think we play at Western Michigan in week 2. That'll be a huge test to kind of see if they're actually legit or not. You open up against Lamar. Nobody cares about Lamar. So, I think there's more spark to it, and I think it's actually going to, maybe come to fruition of they're actually going to be able to make stops on 4th downs and 3rd downs. And, they actually have athletes on this team. They look bigger than the past few years. That's been a big issue for the past decade, is just they don't have any size. And this year, these guys seem like they actually have the right size and strength to be able to, keep them competitive. It's hard to, when you have an offense like that, you just need your defense just to get a stop or two. Not these extremely long drives. I mean, the Army game last year, 13.5 minutes for a single drive through 2 quarters. Yeah. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I think the tricky part too, I know someone was talking about me saying tricky situation. But yeah, I think the interesting part too is UNT typically has a high powered offense that gets the ball up and down the field pretty quick. And that can be a good thing, but it can also be could be harmful on the defensive side of the ball, because if you go 3 and out quick, that defense is right back out there. And good defenses are always broken down by offenses like that. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if the strategy will change a little bit with this DC coming in to rely on a defense a little bit more.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and our Memphis game last year, we scored our first 2 plays on offense. We scored touchdowns.
Yeah.
So the defense was on the field for almost the first full quarter.
Right.
And but Coach Morris talked about it earlier this spring. He talked about how they had to rely on tempo a lot in 2023 and 2024 because the defense just couldn't get off the field, and they needed to be able to score and limit explosive plays defensively. So it was an issue the past few years. I feel like this year you're going to see a little more slow tempo, not running the ball. I mean, you're with an offense and an offensive coordinator that is a receiver was a receiver in college. He wants to pass the ball. That's his philosophy. So, and last year their injuries at running back were terrible, and you didn't really have a lot of options, and you had to pass the ball. You had to go fast. So with a better defense, I feel like if they can have more long sustaining drives that they used to have back in the Seth Luttrell days, I mean, I think you're in for a little bit more of a competitive year, and, being able to, not get blown out as bad as you were against teams like UTSA, which that shouldn't even been a blowout. Army, Tulane, that game should have not been a big a blowout as it was, and Texas Tech should have not been a 40-point loss. It was just because defense couldn't get off the field, offense couldn't really do anything when they're back on the field within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
well, talk to me about the contrast and expectations between last year and this year. Like, what's a realistic? Well, I guess in your eyes, what's a realistic finish for UNT next year? Is that what I guess what's the bar? Is it 7 over under 7 games? Is it 6 games, 8 games? What are you thinking?
I think with this schedule, this is the first time since they joined the American that they're not playing Tulane or Memphis. You get Navy at home, you get UTSA at home, you go to Army. That's your toughest game of the year. You host Washington State. Your schedule's so favorable for you, and you have a little bit better team. I haven't really made an official prediction yet on our podcast, but my bar, I think the floor is 6-6.
Okay.
If you go 6-6 and you lose your bowl game, Coach Morris is on the hot seat. If you go 9-3, 10-2, which it's probably not going to happen, but there's a possibility. You just don't know. Right. It's really unknown. You have an easier schedule. I mean, if that happens, there's a better chance Coach Morris gets taken for an offense coordinator job somewhere, or somewhere in the Power 4 ranks. So, I think I'm saying 8-4. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think you see, Washington State's going to be really tough. They had a great head coach hire. They're going to bring in some really good guys, especially defensively. And, I would say Army is a loss. That's tough. You're up in West Point. I mean, you could say Navy or UTSA or, slip in a team like Rice. I know they're running the triple option this year, or a pro style offense. So that'll be interesting. I'm trying to think of who else. They play UAB, not good. Temple, not very good. New coach. There's a lot of opportunities to win. And, I really think 8-4 is what they could really get.
That's not bad. I was looking at one of I think it was Mike Craven wrote something in the Dave Campbell Texas Football, one of his articles. And one of the things I saw was UNT in terms of a team. There was basically a team that's on a rise in the power rankings in terms of like what 2025 was going to look like for them. So it's one of the reasons why I reached out and want to have you on.
Yeah.
Another question I have is right now there is, and I think forever, or well, I can't say forever, but like over the last few years, there's been a lot of scrutiny at the UTSA marketing team, everything around NIL. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of it. I had an article about it earlier this week that went a lot more crazier than I thought it would go. But are you guys seeing some of the same issues around marketing and just NIL in general? Like, do you guys have a big NIL problem where you feel like you guys don't have the resources to go out and get big time recruits, or you don't have the resources to retain some of the talent? Like, some guys are going to, like, if you got any, or I'll just talk about us, any guy that we have that like has some years left and they look like an NFL prospect type talent are going to go be poached by, your UTs, your Bamas, whatever the case may be. But, outside of that, we struggle to bring in some, like, for example, we can't afford a quarterback. We just can't, right? We have to either get someone from high school and like develop them, or like find a situation like we have now with McCown where, Coach Traylor and his dad, Coach Traylor coached his dad and his uncle. So that's a special situation. But anyway, what's the NIL and marketing situation like at UNT?
Well, I mean, if you guys think it's bad, it's worse here.
Wow,
it really is.
okay.
I mean, the numbers say it. I mean, it's getting better in revenue share when NIL moves in house and all the things they're doing. I think that's this week. Maybe it's later this week. They're supposed to do that. With all, it'll help more. Basketball will get more. They're probably doubling, tripling what they had, which is still under $1 million. That shows how much they had in basketball.
Wow.
And, football wise, it's still a struggle. You couldn't pay DT Sheffield what he wanted. And he said he wanted to go to a conference championship contending team. He went to Rutgers. That's not a championship contending team. I mean, there's no way. And
Right.
Chandler Morris said, or not, he didn't say anything. He just went to Virginia. That doesn't make any sense. You had a lot of these guys leave and go to smaller programs because they're getting a little bit more money. And you can't afford to pay 3 people a quarter or a third of your NIL, if you're going to be able to pay everybody else. And I'm not saying, everybody's going to get, $60,000 like SMU, or, you can't compare yourself to the bigger schools or the richer schools.
Right.
But it's a problem, and it's going to get better. It's gotten a little bit better over the past few weeks, I would say. And just with this news, it'll obviously, improve. And the athletic department can actually handle this, and it's not so chaotic. But you're still, like you said, you're still going to lose guys. I mean, if you're, let's say, Reese can't leave because he's a 5th year, he's done. And I think that's a little bit of what Morris wanted to do, is get a quarterback in here who has no more eligibility left. He's going to ball out his last year and move on. Yeah. You're already thinking, okay, well, we have a guy behind him, Drew Mestemaker, balled out in the bowl game against Texas State. If you can retain him, have him under Poffenberger for this year, he can get even better than he was. So it's now the marketing part, that's been a big thing, especially for basketball. A lot of fans complained on social media and, tagging the athletic director and Jared Mosley in tweets, just saying there wasn't enough. And, when you're in DFW, there's so many opportunities to promote yourself. And I know UNT as like a university does it pretty okay. But you don't see it very much. You don't see, the efforts it feels like they should be putting in, especially in basketball. Basketball is the one that is more focused on because, you're winning more than you are in football, and you're still getting terrible crowds. So it's like, it's an issue, and it doesn't help that, they had the luncheon for basketball on and moved our NIT game. There's a lot of things that go into it, and it feels like you don't get support from the university. And when you don't get the, overall support from a university, it kind of sucks. It kind of puts you in a hole. Right. And I mean, just look at the UNT social media, like the university account. It's terrible. And they don't really care for athletics. They put wrong dates on things, just the little things. That's like, come on, and it's a big problem. And, I think they're getting better. I think, it'll improve, but it's all about football. If football wins, you're going to get more people to donate in NIL, to donate in a scholarship fund, to buy season tickets, and then it trickles down to everything else. And it gives you more marketing because you're winning. You're able to push the brand of football. So, this is a big year for this team. And if they can do that, I think you're going to have a lot of those problems that we've seen with, just simple ads on social media, and just the little things in the marketing aspect and the NIL aspect that will just explode in a great way. You would think. Right. I mean, football changes a lot here in the state of Texas. So,
Do you guys have any big like donors that are super consistent in terms of like, this person's going to like come in and give a big boost? Because that's something that like us as a young program, we just don't have a ton of people with deep pockets
No,
that are invested in it. So you guys are sort of in the same boat.
we do not have anyone that really puts a lot toward it. I mean, there's a Ryan. He's a business person. He has a lot of money. He doesn't really donate that much. And a lot of the bigger donors, some of them don't want to do NIL because there's the old guys. They don't really want to pay these
I don't believe
players.
in it. Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I got to do NIL, I got to do scholarship fund, I got to buy season tickets, and you're getting pressure about all this other stuff. I mean, that's a lot of money you're shelling out. And with NIL, you don't know if the guy's going to stay. You have no clue. So, a lot of these guys, they do it because I guess you could say they want to, or they feel the need to, but they don't really want to.
Right.
It's not like something they're like, oh, I'm so excited to go donate to our NIL collective. That doesn't even get our great guys in here.
Right.
Unfortunately for football and the defensive side, especially, you brought the coach over, the defense coordinator over, and players loved him. Because he's almost their age, and they're able to flock over. So that was big. I think that was just luck of the draw. And fortunately, they had a great defense, so it helps. But man, there's not a whole lot. There's good donors. I know UTSA fans don't have the great relationship with Mr. Dylan Lovelace, but their family's done a lot for this school and for the for the athletic department. So they have names on 2 facilities here. So they donate as much as they can, but there's nobody that's like a Mattress Mac. He used to be a donor here back in the day, but
Really?
yeah. And then it was with Daryl Dickey, our old football coach, and they fired him, and he said, "I'm not coming back." And you lose Mattress Mac, you're like, well,
that's a problem.
That's a now you look at it, and he won all those bets. That's a huge miss, and you can't take it back now because he's never going to come back. Now he supports Houston.
I wanted to ask you about the sort of the conference realignment stuff, because I feel like every couple. And by the way, you have somebody in here loves you. One of the people in the comments.
I know a lot of these guys in here. I think
Okay.
it's been a history, man. It's been a long time. I've met most of them, but some of them I've not met in person. But some of them are really funny. I used to troll all the time. Now I'm too professional and I can't troll as much.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to have my media stuff. So
Right.
I like to keep that a little bit. But
yeah. But yeah, no. So I feel like conference realignment is always a thing, and one of the questions that folks were asking under the original post yesterday was, I guess, whenever UTSA sort of got the offer in the Pac-12 and UNT wasn't in that, like, how did that make you feel? Or what's your perspective just on that situation?
I wouldn't want to join that conference because there's nothing, there's no TV deals confirmed. There's no money. You don't know what you're going to do. And that's a big risk for a school like UTSA to do that, because you're in a conference, you're not getting that much, but eventually you will get that much.
Right.
We don't know how much they're going to pay. You have no clue. All the rumors on Twitter, you don't ever trust random people. And especially that Oregon State dude, I can't stand him. He tags me and everything or follows me. Cannot stand it. And North Texas has confirmed they're not joining the Pac-12. They're not going to do it, and it's not financially responsible. If you're going to go to something that you don't know what's going to happen next, there's not even enough teams to form a conference.
No.
So it's too unknown, and even for teams like Memphis, who have the support, they have the donor base. They have big money people like FedEx and those sponsors that really help them out. It still isn't something that you want to do because nothing's really confirmed, and it's just kind of an unknown. And right now, if you want to go to that conference and let's say it falls apart, what are you going to do next? And you're in I know the American, especially in basketball, is not the best, but you at least have some sort of firm partnership with this conference in a way that you can stay, and you're still making $7 million off revenue. I think it's $7 million off revenue share. Because I know UNT and UTS, all the new schools are like $2.5 million or something. Which is, that's better than nothing. But that would be a bad move. I think it would be a bad move for anybody in this conference. Nobody is truly there yet. And it's just dumb.
Yeah, from what I seen of their proposal, it was a joke anyway. Yeah, it's not great situation, but some of the folks wanted to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let me see. Um, I want to ask you about UTSA a little bit, and what do you think? So I was not a very big fan of our quarterback last year for a while, up until the last half of the season. I think he proves me wrong, and I'm behind him. I back whatever the coach thinks, because I mean we did turn our season around. What are your thoughts? How do you
Yeah.
evaluate Owen McCown as a quarterback for UTSA?
Well, I mean, he sure shredded North Texas last year.
That's true.
I think, I guess that was more later in the year. He was able to kind of establish himself. I mean, I watched some UTSA games. I know that Army game was a little frustrating. I watched the Texas State game. I know that was pretty brutal. But I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this conference. And you look at what you have in the American right now. Tulane lost their guy, TJ Finley. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I mean, stole a car. And then you look at Army, lost Bryson Daly. Navy, I don't remember if that guy's back. I can never remember his name. You have Memphis. You don't have Hennigan anymore. It's more open, and I honestly think the UTSA offense is going to be even better this year, from what I've seen and what I've read from you guys and just certain people and the returning people they have back. You lose some of those core guys from the years before in the championships, but I mean, I think this is a conference where it's almost wide open. You really think it's wide open because so many teams lost their better players or they graduated. I don't know UTSA schedule off the top of my head.
Our schedule's not easy.
No, it's not. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Wow, you guys go at North Texas, home Tulane, at South Florida. That's a brutal 3 games. You start you're against A&M. I mean,
not easy.
Sucks.
Not easy.
And I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, what do you? Is there a bar for you? I mean, what's the floor for you guys? Because I would think floor's 4.
I think 4 is a bit too low. I think I was just talking about this before you got on, and I said that I think 7 games is possible. I think 6, because I was looking at some of the games and I'm like, okay, I feel good about UIW. I feel good about like a team like Charlotte. We got Temple. I feel good about those games. Believe it or not, I feel good about Texas State, even though they completely demolished us last year. I think I just don't see that happening again, especially considering how McCown finished the season. They're ushering in a new quarterback again as well. So like we're going to get them in a situation where now we have the quarterback that's seasoned and has like, so I feel good about that game. And then I feel good about East Carolina too. Like I know that's late in the season, but like I think if you look at that game, we beat them last year. And we really, I mean, they made a run at the end, but like we really dominated them for 4 quarters, to be completely honest. So anyway, I think we can get, I think 6 to 8 games is possible, to be honest. But like if I had to guess and put a number on, I'd say we probably finish around 7, like maybe 1 up, 1 down, somewhere in there. But it's not going to be an easy schedule at all.
No,
we got to work that out for it.
You guys played back-to-back Thursday games.
Yes, disgusting.
I mean, we played 2 Friday games. We played South Florida on Friday, and then we go to Charlotte. Man, I would say 6 to 7 wins is probably reasonable. I mean, last year against Texas State, I'm pretty sure Texas State had, I mean, when we played them, I'm pretty sure they had several guys that were graduating. I don't know about their portal situation. I don't really keep up with Texas State because they're not in our conference. But, I mean, I don't know how good Colorado State's going to be. I mean, it's on the road. Temple with a new old Sam Houston coach. I mean, I think it's going to take a few years for Temple to get back up in the, middle part of this conference. And it sucks you got to play Army at the end of the year. That sucks.
Yeah.
Even if it's at home, that's terrible.
Yeah, everybody on this watching my show knows I am completely terrified of Army. We do not play them well ever. They like out physical us every time we play. Even the game we won, we beat them a few years back, and I still didn't feel good about it because they're just a physical team. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be this year. We get y'all at home. I think that'll be I think that'll probably be the closest game we've had since the game back in 2022. I mean, the championship game wasn't close. 2023 was close, but I think North Texas just came back in that game last year was terrible. I think if North Texas can have a good defense and finally bring pressure on a quarterback and have 4 guys up front that are actually rushing the quarterback and bigger, more physical people, I think you're in for a better game. I don't think we're going to see hurdles, guys just jumping over our small defensive backs. And I think that they said the culture hasn't changed that much. I mean, that was some of the returning guys. I don't believe that because you're bringing in a whole new defensive side of the ball. Something's got to change. And I feel like this is the year that North Texas can finally, elevate a little bit more and be more competitive in these games against teams that might be statistically better than you. But, if you can, play a little bit harder, you have a little bit better of a defense that can make stops, I think, you're going to be able to compete more and probably win those games. You had games like in Memphis last year. That was the most frustrating game. You put up 670 yards of offense and you lost by 10. I mean, that's disgusting. Or by 7. That's disgusting. That's really disgusting. So, I'm more excited. It's just spring ball. I try not to hype people up too much, but once fall camp rolls around, we'll be able to kind of know a little bit more about this team. And, I know UTSA, y'all aren't doing a spring game this year.
No, I'm upset. I do not like it because I think the main thing for me is like we just need all the exposure we can get. And I get the whole bit about, we don't want our guys to get poached and college football is changing, so on and so forth. But to me, it's, whenever you look at season tickets fluctuating and there being sort of a craving fan base that wants to be excited, right? That wants to go out and buy season tickets. Like the low hanging fruit is you give them something to create excitement and momentum toward the year. I just think you got to give them something. And when you pull that away, it's like Jesus. So I was looking at, I think it was some of the posts that you made about I think you posted a photo from one of the scrimmages or something at UNT. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm jealous. I'm going to go up at the end of the month to go check out one of UTSA scrimmages, but I can't go I can't go as media. I'm going as a former player and I can't report on it. I just have to go up there and watch and keep it to myself. And I'm just like, this just doesn't help,
I feel I get it. We didn't really have a spring game this year. It was just a scrimmage and they didn't even publicize it. I mean,
right.
A lot of people were like, oh, we had a scrimmage today. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I knew about it, but so, I mean, I just don't see the real need for it. I think, I don't know what y'all do during fall. We usually have an open scrimmage and it's like a coach's caravan and all the coaches come in and talk and there's people up in the club section. But I think that's more important at that time because, these guys are and fall camp's more important. You're about to play in the season. You're just 2-3 weeks away. I feel like that should be something that every
we don't have that
open.
though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So
I feel like that should be something that every school should kind of have. I know certain coaches are really stingy about what they want the people to see, which, I don't know why. And obviously it's spring, why not open up things? Because obviously it's probably not going to be the same thing you run come fall and actual season. But at the same time, it's like, I get the coach's reasonings. You have, sometimes like last year we had a guy tear his ACL. That was 2 years ago. There's just injuries and there's just not a whole lot of, need for something like that. You're just, I mean, the scrimmages are pretty boring.
I get it. Person. Right. They are definitely watered down, but I think in a situation where you have a fan base that is really on the asses of all the folks around the marketing, I'm just like, this is just another sort of thing that frustrates folks even more. But Yeah. But thanks for coming on. We are at time. I appreciate you coming on and talking some UNT. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, the UNT6. A lot of these guys in these chat, they know about that. I'm a photographer, so I do a lot of that for the North Texas Eagle Patreon. It's on Twitter. It's on, you can type in North Texas Eagle, and that's where we do most of our work. Spring, fall, basketball, football, whatever you want to call it. So, I appreciate you having me on here. I haven't been on a lot of UTSA stuff, but it was great to be on here today. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks a lot for the time. That was Miles, folks. I appreciate you guys and the newcomers from UNT who came into the show and kept the chat live. You guys got the chat rocking. It's a little crazy in there. I ain't gonna go in there too much, but I appreciate you guys for coming on, and I'm going to sign off. Catch you guys next Wednesday at the same time. Peace.